Do you know that moment when your heart feels like it's being squeezed so tightly you can't breathe? That was me last night. My hands still shake as I tell you this, my voice trembling not from age, but from fear, from anger, from the helplessness that washed over me in a wave I never thought I'd survive. It all began when my daughter and her husband came over for dinner. Or at least, that's what I thought it was. A simple evening in our little home, warm lights, the smell of roasted chicken filling the air. But inside, something dark was stirring. I could feel it before it even happened, like the air itself whispered warnings I didn't want to hear. We were laughing at first. My daughter, radiant as always, told a story about her day at work. Her husband. Oh, he smiled, the kind of smile that hides storms. I remember thinking how handsome he looked in the dim candlelight, his charm so convincing. But then in a heartbeat everything changed. I don't even remember the words. One moment they were talking and the next, I saw him slap her. Right across her face. The sound, sharp echoing, made my blood run cold. Time seemed to stop. The candle flickered, shadows dancing wildly on the cracked floor. My daughter's cheek glowed red, her eyes wide, filled with shock and disbelief. And then the unthinkable. His mother, standing behind him, clapped, cheered even. Can you imagine that? Watching your daughter hurt and another human, a mother no less, applauds the cruelty? My hands flew to my mouth. My knees nearly buckled. My heart? Oh, my poor heart. It shattered. I wanted to scream, to run at them, to do something, anything. But I couldn't. Something held me back, something older than fear. A sense of purpose, of justice buried deep in my bones. I realized then that I had to act, but carefully. One wrong move and it would all be lost. I took a deep breath, steadying my trembling voice. Go to your room, I said to my daughter, trying to keep calm, though the storm inside me raged like the one outside. Rain pelted the windows, the wind rattling the frames as if echoing the violence that had just erupted inside. She obeyed, her small hands clutching the blanket, her body shaking. And I turned toward the shadows, toward the phone that sat like a beacon on the kitchen wall. My mind raced. Who could I call? Who could possibly understand? And then I remembered an old friend, someone who owed me a favor, someone who knew the kind of man her husband really was. My pulse quickened. Could one call, one single move change everything? Could I ruin him before he hurt her again? But before I dialed, I paused. The house was silent, yet I felt eyes on me. Shadows shifted along the cracked walls, flickering with the candlelight. The floorboards creaked as if warning me, whispering secrets that belonged to this old house. I could almost hear voices from years ago, voices of people long gone, telling me to be careful, to watch, to wait. I glanced at the photograph on the wall, a family portrait from when my daughter was a child. Her smile was innocent, trusting. That smile now seemed fragile, almost a memory from another lifetime. My stomach twisted. I remembered the first time I met her husband. Charming, polite, handsome. But I'd seen glimpses of something darker, glimpses I'd ignored. And now I could not. The storm outside intensified, as if the heavens themselves were aware of the choices I was about to make. Thunder shook the windows, lightning split the sky. I gripped the phone tightly, my knuckles white, my mind plotting the first steps of a plan I hoped would bring justice and perhaps peace. And then I heard it. A soft sound, almost imperceptible, but it made my blood run cold. Footsteps upstairs. Slow, measured, deliberate. Not my daughter's. Not mine. His. The man who dared to raise his hand against my child. My heart raced. Every instinct screamed at me to hide, to run, to flee. But I knew hiding was not an option. Not tonight. I moved toward the hallway leading to her room. The candlelight flickered across the walls, throwing long twisting shadows. I paused at her door, peeking through. She lay curled under the blanket, her eyes wide and glistening with tears. "Mom, what do we do now?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the storm. I knelt beside her, placing my hands on her small shoulders. "Now, my darling, now we fight," I whispered back, my voice trembling but firm. "They will regret what they did, I promise you that." Her eyes searched mine, a mixture of fear and hope. And in that moment I realized the weight of what I was about to do. This wasn't just about one slap. This was about exposing the truth, the hidden cruelty, the manipulation, the lies. The evidence that would finally unravel everything they thought they could get away with. I remembered the locked drawer in the living room side table. I'd seen it countless times but never touched it. Tonight it called to me. The old letters inside held secrets, proof of their deception, evidence of the darkness hiding behind charming smiles. I couldn't ignore it any longer. I reached for the drawer. My hands shook, the candlelight flickering across the letters inside. Receipts, handwritten notes, photographs. Each one a piece of the puzzle I had ignored for too long. And now I could use them. I could finally protect my daughter and make them pay for the cruelty they had shown. And then, I heard the softest whisper, barely audible over the storm. You shouldn't do that. My heart skipped. Was it the wind? A trick of the storm? Or someone else, someone already aware of my plan? I pressed my back against the wall, holding the letters close, trembling. My mind raced with possibilities, with fear and fury. And here, my dear listener, I must ask you, if you discovered someone you trusted had a secret that could destroy your family, would you confront them? Or wait for the perfect moment? Comment below. I'm dying to know what you would do. While you think about that, remember, if you're captivated by my story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You wouldn't want to miss what comes next, trust me. The night is far from over. I glanced once more at the storm outside, the shadows in the hallway, and whispered to myself, it begins now. The storm outside had grown violent. Rain battered the windows like tiny fists, each drop echoing in my chest. The wind howled through the old cracks of the house, carrying whispers that made the hairs on my arms stand on end. I clutched the stack of letters, the fragile paper trembling beneath my fingers, as if it knew the secrets it held could destroy lives. I tiptoed toward the hallway, every step careful, mindful of the shadows that seemed to stretch and twist unnaturally along the cracked floor. Candlelight flickered, casting dancing specters across the walls. Each shadow felt alive, watching me, warning me. I had always known this house was old, haunted by memories and secrets, but tonight it seemed to breathe with me. My daughter's room door was slightly ajar. I peeked inside. She was curled beneath the blanket, still trembling, eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears. I wanted to scoop her into my arms, to whisper that everything would be okay, but I knew it wouldn't. Not yet. Tonight, courage would have to be stronger than fear. Mom, are you really going to do it? She whispered, her voice almost drowned by the pounding storm outside. Yes, darling, I replied, my own voice trembling. I promised you justice. And I intend to keep that promise. As I spoke, I noticed something odd. A faint sound coming from the living room. A soft creak like someone walking in the dark. Careful, deliberate. I froze, my breath caught in my throat. Was it him? Or his mother? My mind raced. I gripped the letters tighter, my knuckles white, my heart thundering like a drum in my chest. I decided to move toward the source, careful to stay hidden. Shadows shifted along the walls, candlelight reflecting off old, cracked floors, revealing glimpses of secrets long buried. And then I saw it. A small envelope, partially hidden under the edge of the rug, stamped with his mother's handwriting. My pulse quickened. Could this be another piece of the puzzle? Another clue to the darkness I had barely begun to understand? I reached for it, careful not to make a sound. My fingers brushed the paper and a chill ran through me. I opened it slowly. Inside were photographs, my daughter alone, moments when I wasn't watching. Notes scribbled in hurried handwriting. Instructions, warnings, observations. Every line screamed manipulation, control, cruelty hidden behind polite smiles. My stomach turned. They were far worse than I had imagined. Suddenly a sound made me jump. A floorboard creaking behind me. My eyes darted around. No one. But I could feel a presence, cold and calculating, almost waiting for me to make a mistake. I clutched the letters to my chest and whispered, I will not let you win. Then I remembered the phone. The one call that could change everything. I rushed to the kitchen, hands shaking, and picked it up. The numbers blurred before my eyes. One call, that's all it would take. And yet hesitation gripped me. Fear mingled with anger. Uncertainty with determination. Who would answer? Who could I trust to understand the gravity of this moment? The storm outside intensified. Thunder shaking the windows, lightning splitting the sky. In that flash of light I saw him, my daughter's husband, at the top of the stairs, shadowed and silent. My breath caught. How long had he been there? Watching me? Listening to my plan? My fingers tightened around the phone, the plastic cold against my skin. Before I could dial, I heard another sound, a whisper, faint, almost drowned by the storm. "You shouldn't do that." I froze. Not the wind. Not the rain. A voice. Someone in the house. Someone who knew I had found the letters. My heart raced. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to hide, but I knew I couldn't. Not now. Not after everything. I backed away slowly, eyes scanning the shadows. That's when I noticed it. The locked drawer I had glanced at yesterday, hidden under the side table in the living room. I hadn't had the courage to open it before, but tonight I had no choice. This drawer held the key to everything. I knelt before it, my trembling hands fumbling with the small brass lock. Finally it clicked open. Inside were more letters, receipts, and notes. Evidence of lies, deceit, manipulation. They had been planning this for months, maybe years. And now I had it all. Every secret, every betrayal, every lie laid bare. And then I realized the storm outside wasn't the only danger. Someone was moving in the house. Slow, deliberate footsteps, now coming from the hallway leading to the kitchen. I could hear them. A shadow fell across the floor, stretching toward me, and I knew without looking that it was him. I pressed myself against the wall, clutching the evidence. My mind raced. Should I confront him now? Or wait for the perfect moment to strike? The question burned in my mind. If someone you trusted was capable of destroying your family, would you act immediately or wait for the right chance? Comment below, I need to know what you would do. The footsteps stopped. Silence. The storm raged on. Candlelight flickered. And then, a shadow moved across the wall, shifting closer, stretching longer. I could hear a faint whisper again, almost like the house itself was warning me. Be careful. They are watching. I took a deep breath, heart pounding, and made a choice. I would not run. I would not hide. Not tonight. I stepped into the hallway, letters clutched tightly, eyes scanning every shadow. Every creak, every whisper, every flicker of candlelight could mean danger or opportunity. The first call had to be made. One phone call to the right person, and everything would begin to unravel. I stepped closer to the phone, hand shaking, when suddenly, the lights flickered, and the storm outside seemed to scream. I heard a low laugh, almost a whisper, almost human, almost cruel. My pulse raced. I had a decision to make, one that could change everything. And in that moment I realized the night was far from over. The shadows were alive, the whispers were real, and the secrets I had uncovered were only the beginning. I looked at the candlelight, at the storm raging outside, at the evidence in my hands, and whispered, "It begins now." And dear listener, I have to ask again. What would you do if you held the power to expose the truth about someone you trusted? Would you act or wait? Think carefully, because what happens next will change everything. I took a deep breath, my fingers still trembling around the phone. The storm outside had grown fiercer, lightning slicing the sky like knives, thunder rolling through the house as if echoing my own pounding heartbeat. Every shadow in the hallway seemed alive, shifting, twisting with intent. I could almost feel eyes on me, from upstairs, from the walls themselves, from the secrets that lurked just out of sight. I finally dialed the number of the one person I knew could help me. Someone I trusted completely. My hand shook as I pressed the buttons, and every ring of the line felt like the countdown to an explosion. What would they say? Would they understand the urgency? Would they act fast enough? My pulse raced, matching the rhythm of the storm. And then a click. The voice on the other end was calm, steady, knowing. "I'm listening," they said. And in that instant I realized that everything I had feared, every plan I had held back, was about to unfold. I whispered quickly, almost breathlessly, recounting the night's horrors, the slap, his mother's cheering, the hidden letters, the evidence I had found. The person on the other end didn't flinch. They asked for details, for dates, for proof, and I rattled everything off. Every receipt, every note, every photograph. And as I spoke, I felt a shift inside me. Fear was transforming into power. I realized that for the first time I wasn't helpless. I wasn't just a trembling grandmother watching her daughter suffer. I was in control. When the call ended, I felt a mixture of dread and exhilaration. Help was on the way, but that didn't mean it would be easy. I knew my daughter's husband was cunning. He wouldn't wait idly. And his mother. I could feel her eyes somewhere in this house watching, calculating. I had to act carefully. Every step, every decision mattered. I returned to the living room, letters clutched tightly. Candlelight flickered across the cracked floorboards, casting long twisting shadows. I noticed something that made my stomach twist. An envelope I hadn't seen before, peeking from behind the vase on the side table. My curiosity overtook me. I grabbed it, tearing it open. Inside was a small key with a note in his mother's handwriting. For emergencies only. Use wisely. My pulse quickened. Emergencies only? What did she mean? Was it a trap, a warning, or something more sinister? I slipped the key into my pocket, feeling its weight. I had no idea what lock it belonged to, but instinct told me it was important. And somehow I knew it could change the course of everything. I decided to check on my daughter. She was still under her blanket, staring at me with wide, fearful eyes. "Mom, are we really going to stop them?" she whispered. "Yes, darling," I said, forcing a calm I didn't feel. "But you have to trust me. Everything I do tonight, it's to keep you safe. You'll see." I left her room and walked toward the staircase. That key burned in my pocket, a constant reminder of the unknown. As I ascended, a faint whisper reached my ears, carried by the wind. Or was it something else? "You shouldn't have found them." The voice made me freeze. Not the wind. Not the storm. Someone knew. Someone was watching. I reached the top of the stairs and paused. The hallway stretched out in dim shadows, candlelight flickering from a sconce on the wall. Each step I took was deliberate, cautious. I could hear faint creaks from the floors above me, footsteps, deliberate and measured, matching my own. The tension was suffocating. Every instinct screamed at me to turn back, to hide, to run, but I couldn't. I had begun this, and I would see it through. Then I saw it, her door slightly ajar. I peeked inside. My daughter was still curled up, her small hands clutching the blanket. I knelt beside her and whispered, "Tonight we begin to take back what's ours." Her eyes, filled with a mixture of fear and hope, met mine. I could see the trust she had in me, and it strengthened my resolve. Suddenly, I heard a soft shuffle behind me. I spun around, heart racing, but saw nothing. Only shadows stretching and twisting across the walls, flickering with the candlelight. But I knew someone had been there. Someone was moving silently, calculating every step. I returned to the letters. They were my roadmap, my arsenal. Every note, every photograph, every receipt painted a picture of their lies and deceit. And now, with my phone call made and help on the way, I could finally begin the first strike. But I had to be careful. Any misstep could ruin everything. I moved toward the staircase landing, key in hand. I had no idea what it opened, but I felt a pull, a sense of inevitability. As I held it, I noticed a faint outline in the wallpaper, something I had never seen before. A small hidden panel? Could it be? I pressed gently, and the panel clicked open, revealing a hidden compartment. My breath caught. Inside, more letters, more evidence, and something else. A small envelope, sealed and trembling as if it had waited decades to be opened. I hesitated, feeling the weight of what I was about to do. Inside that envelope could be the truth or a trap. But I knew I had no choice. I tore it open, revealing photographs and documents that made my blood run cold. They detailed not just cruelty, but manipulation, threats, and a plan to control my daughter's life completely. My hands shook, my heart raced, but a fierce determination burned within me. And then a sound. A floorboard creaked below. Someone was moving closer, faster. Shadows shifted along the walls, stretching toward me like fingers. I pressed the letters to my chest, my mind racing. I had to hide them, protect them, and prepare for the next move. Every second counted. I glanced at the key, at the hidden compartment, and whispered, "It begins now." The first strike had to be precise. One misstep, one moment of hesitation, and it would all be lost. But I was ready. I had the evidence. I had the courage. And most importantly, I had the heart to protect my daughter, no matter the cost. And dear listener, tell me this. If you discovered someone's dark secret and held the power to expose it tonight, would you do it? Or would fear hold you back? Comment below, I need to know. Because what happens next will change everything. The storm raged on, the shadows danced, and the whispers grew louder. And in that house filled with secrets and lies, I took the first step toward justice, and toward a night that none of us would ever forget. The storm outside raged as if the world itself had decided to join me in my quest for justice. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the cracked floors and flickering candlelight in the hallway. Shadows twisted across the walls, stretching like dark fingers, and I could feel them pressing in around me. Every creak of the old house echoed like a warning, or a threat. I pressed the letters and photographs against my chest, my mind racing. Each page held a secret, a betrayal I had never imagined. And yet I had to move. I had to act before he realized what I had discovered. One wrong step, one slip, and everything could be gone. The storm outside seemed to mimic the pounding in my chest, each heartbeat synchronized with the rhythm of the rain. I tiptoed toward the hidden compartment I had found at the top of the stairs. The envelope inside trembled in my hands, as if it knew the power it held. I opened it carefully. Inside were documents that revealed more than I had ever imagined. Contracts, notes, even letters that exposed schemes to manipulate my daughter's life, control her every move, and isolate her from anyone who could protect her. My fingers shook as I examined the papers. The evidence was damning, and yet a part of me hesitated. Was this enough? Could I truly bring them down with this? The fear crept in, whispering doubts, but I pushed it aside. I had promised my daughter justice. I would not fail her. As I was studying the documents, a faint sound made me freeze. A soft click like a lock turning. Shadows shifted across the hallway, stretching toward me in long twisting lines. My breath caught in my throat. Someone was moving in the house and I could feel it, lurking just beyond the edge of the candlelight. I pressed myself against the wall, listening. There it was again, a whisper faint, almost drowned out by the storm. I know what you're doing. My pulse quickened. Not the wind. Not the rain. Someone knew. Someone was watching. And now the stakes were higher than ever. I had to think fast. I remembered the key I had found. Could it open another secret door? Another hidden compartment? My instincts screamed yes. I moved quickly, slipping the key from my pocket and scanning the walls. And then I saw it. A small, barely noticeable keyhole in the corner of the hallway, hidden behind a faded tapestry. My hands trembled as I inserted the key. A soft click echoed through the hallway. I held my breath and pulled. The wall panel swung open, revealing a narrow, dark passage. The smell of old paper and dust filled my nose. My heart pounded. This passage, it was a hidden archive. A secret room that had been sealed for years. Inside, stacks of documents, journals, and old photographs filled the shelves. My eyes widened. This was more than I had imagined. Evidence spanning years, decades even. Secrets that could shatter lives, expose lies, and reveal the true nature of the people I had trusted. I stepped inside cautiously, every shadow threatening to betray me. I picked up a leather-bound journal, its pages yellowed with age. Flipping it open, I saw handwriting that I recognized. His mother's. The entries detailed manipulations, schemes, even confessions of cruelty. My blood ran cold as I read her words. She had been planning, controlling, and orchestrating events for years. And now I had the proof. Suddenly I heard footsteps again, closer this time. My heart raced. Someone was coming, moving silently through the house, searching. I pressed myself into the shadows, clutching the journal to my chest. The storm outside intensified, thunder shaking the windows, lightning illuminating the room in sudden, blinding flashes. I realized then that I had to act quickly. I grabbed as many documents as I could carry, stuffing them into my bag. Each piece of evidence was a weapon, a key to bringing justice. And yet, fear gnawed at the edges of my resolve. What if they caught me? What if my daughter's husband and his mother discovered my plan before I could execute it? I took a deep breath and reminded myself why I was doing this. For my daughter, for her safety, for her future. I couldn't let fear control me. I had to be brave, even if my hands shook, even if my voice trembled. I had to be the storm they had never anticipated. Then I heard it, a soft whisper closer than before. You can't hide forever. My pulse jumped. I froze, straining to hear. The footsteps moved away, receding into the shadows, leaving only the echo of the storm and my own rapid heartbeat. I knew it was a warning, and I knew I had to move fast. I slipped out of the hidden room, careful not to disturb the shadows. The hallway stretched before me, flickering candlelight casting long, eerie shapes on the walls. I paused at my daughter's door. She was still under the blanket, eyes wide, waiting for my signal. I nodded to her, silently telling her to trust me. As I descended the stairs, I realized something important. This wasn't just about exposing their cruelty. It was about reclaiming control, about showing my daughter that we could fight back, that we weren't powerless. Every shadow, every whisper, every secret was a step toward justice. I reached the living room, where the storm seemed to press against the windows like a living thing. I spread the documents across the table, arranging them carefully. The candlelight flickered, illuminating photographs, letters, and notes. Each piece was a piece of the puzzle, a thread in the web of lies they had woven. And then a sound. A floorboard creaked behind me. I spun around, heart racing. The living room was empty. Only shadows moved, twisting and dancing in the candlelight. I pressed my back against the wall, clutching the documents. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I stayed. I had come too far to turn back now. I whispered to myself, trembling. This is only the beginning. Dear listener, I must ask you once more. If you discovered a secret that could ruin someone you once trusted, would you confront them immediately or wait for the perfect moment? Comment below, I need to know what you would do. The storm raged on, shadows stretched, and whispers filled the old house. And in that moment I knew that the first strike was coming, the move that would change everything. For my daughter. For me. For the truth. The storm outside had not relented. It raged like a wild beast, pounding the roof, rattling the windows and sending shadows twisting across the cracked floorboards. I clutched the stack of documents tighter, my hands trembling, yet my resolve was solidifying. Every step I took tonight would matter. Every second could tip the balance between victory and disaster. I glanced at my daughter. She sat quietly in her room, watching me with a mixture of fear and trust, her small hands gripping the blanket. I wanted to tell her everything, to shield her from the storm that was coming. But some battles had to be fought in the shadows, some truths had to be revealed slowly, so they could land with the full force of their weight. I moved back into the living room, spreading the evidence across the table. Photographs, letters, receipts, all pieces of the same dark puzzle. Each one screamed betrayal, cruelty, and manipulation. The room smelled faintly of candle wax and rain-soaked wood, the storm outside matching the tempest in my heart. Shadows from the flickering candles danced across the walls, and I felt as though they were urging me forward, whispering encouragement only I could hear. The first step had to be careful. I couldn't confront him directly yet, not without an advantage. I needed leverage. And these documents, this evidence, were my weapon. I scanned them again, memorizing dates, names, and lies. Every detail mattered. Every omission, every twist could be exploited. Then I remembered the envelope with the key, the one hidden in the hallway. Its weight in my pocket was a reminder of potential, of secrets still waiting to be unveiled. I retrieved it, slipping it open to reveal another small key. It was labeled, "For the room that holds the final truth." My pulse quickened. A room that held the final truth. What could be inside? Was it more letters, more photographs, or something even darker? I moved cautiously through the hallway, past my daughter's room, up the stairs and toward the back of the house. The key fit perfectly into a small, almost invisible lock on the door at the end of the corridor. I turned it slowly, heart racing, the sound echoing in the silent house. The door creaked open, revealing a room cloaked in darkness. Dust motes floated in the air, illuminated by a single candle flickering on the floor. Inside I found a small desk, covered with papers, journals, and photographs. But what caught my attention most was a hidden drawer, slightly ajar, revealing envelopes stamped with a symbol I had never seen before. My hand shook as I reached for the nearest one. Inside were documents detailing transactions, manipulations, and threats. A web of control over not just my daughter, but several others whose lives had been quietly manipulated and destroyed. I gasped, the candlelight flickering across my face. This was bigger than I had imagined. These people weren't just cruel. They were calculating, dangerous, and powerful. I had to proceed carefully. One wrong move, one misstep, and I could become their next victim. Suddenly, a faint creak behind me made me spin around. The shadows stretched unnaturally across the walls. My pulse hammered in my ears. Footsteps, deliberate, measured, approaching. I pressed myself against the wall, clutching the documents. Whoever it was, they didn't know I had found this room yet, or maybe they did. My heart raced, every nerve on fire. I decided to act. I needed to create a diversion. Carefully, I pulled a candle from the desk and lit it, placing it near the doorway. Then I knocked over a stack of papers, letting them scatter across the floor. The soft clatter echoed through the house, a perfect lure. I slipped into the shadows, moving silently unseen, as the footsteps followed the noise. When I peeked back, I saw him, my daughter's husband, entering the room, eyes scanning, searching. And behind him, his mother. Her expression was cold, calculating, almost triumphant. My stomach twisted. They hadn't expected me to find this. But I was ready. I had the evidence, I had the plan, and I had the storm on my side. I retreated to a safe corner, my breath steadying as I watched them pick up the papers, their faces darkening as realization dawned. They were angry, but they didn't know everything I had discovered. Not yet. And that uncertainty, that fear of the unknown, was mine to wield. I whispered under my breath, "It begins now. Every secret, every lie will come to light." My daughter's trust, her future depended on me. I could not falter. I could not fail. Then I heard a faint whisper carried on the wind, or perhaps from within the house itself. "You're playing a dangerous game." I shivered, but I didn't step back. I had come too far. I had to push forward, to strike while the moment was right. I had another advantage. They thought I was fragile, trembling, incapable. But I had learned their patterns, their secrets, their weaknesses. I knew when to move, when to wait, and when to strike. And tonight the first strike had begun. I quickly gathered the most damning documents, slipping them into my bag. The storm outside roared approval, lightning illuminating the room in blinding flashes. Shadows danced across their faces as they examined the papers, confusion and anger darkening their features. I could see the cracks forming already, the first seeds of panic, of fear, of guilt. And then, I heard it. My daughter's soft voice, calling from the top of the stairs. "Mom, are you okay?" I took a deep breath, steadying my trembling hands, and whispered back, "Yes, darling. Stay there. Trust me. I will protect you." The storm outside raged harder, pounding against the windows, rattling the walls, a perfect soundtrack to the tension building inside. I knew I had to act quickly before they could recover. I had to deliver the evidence to the right people, set the wheels of justice in motion, and protect my daughter from further harm. And dear listener, let me ask you again. If you had the power to expose someone's darkest secrets tonight, would you act immediately or wait for the perfect moment? Comment below, I need to know. Because what happens next will change everything. I glanced one last time at the documents, at the storm raging outside, at the shadows stretching across the floor. Every secret, every whisper, every hidden truth was a piece of the puzzle. And now I was finally in control. The first strike was only the beginning. The night was far from over, and what they didn't know could destroy them completely. The storm had not relented. Rain battered the roof, each drop a drumbeat in my chest, matching the rhythm of my racing heart. Thunder shook the windows, casting flickers of lightning that illuminated the cracked floors and shifting shadows. The house seemed alive tonight. Every creak, every whisper, every flicker of candlelight a message, a warning, or perhaps a challenge. I stood in the living room, clutching the stack of documents tightly. My daughter's husband and his mother were oblivious to the full extent of what I had discovered, but the cracks were beginning to show. I could see confusion darkening their faces, hear the tension in their whispered exchanges as they tried to understand why I had suddenly become dangerous. I took a deep breath, steadying my trembling hands. Every instinct screamed that I had to move carefully. One misstep and everything could be lost. But I could no longer wait. This night had been building toward a confrontation from the moment the first slap fell across my daughter's face. And now the time had come. I stepped into the hallway, shadows stretching along the walls with every flicker of candlelight. My eyes caught the faint outline of the keyhole hidden behind the tapestry. The key I had found earlier still burned in my pocket. It was time. Whatever secrets that door held, they needed to be revealed. I inserted the key, turning it slowly. A soft click echoed through the hall. The door creaked open, revealing the narrow passage I had discovered days ago. Dust motes floated in the candlelight, and I could smell the faint scent of old paper and secrets long buried. I stepped inside, clutching the documents, each step careful, deliberate, every shadow threatening to betray me. The passage led to the hidden room, the archive of evidence that held decades of manipulation and deceit. I could feel the weight of it all pressing down on me. These weren't just letters and receipts. They were lives destroyed, trust broken, and plans that had been hidden in plain sight. My hands shook, but I pressed forward. Courage burned within me, stronger than fear. Then I heard it. A sound that made my blood run cold. Footsteps, soft and deliberate, echoing through the house. They were coming closer. My pulse quickened. I pressed myself against the wall, heart hammering. Shadows stretched along the floor, flickering with the candlelight. Whoever it was, they didn't yet know I had the evidence. I peeked out of the hidden room, my eyes scanning the hallway. There they were. My daughter's husband and his mother, searching, suspicious, tense. The storm outside illuminated their faces in brief flashes, revealing anger, confusion, and fear. I could see that they realized something had changed, that I had discovered something they hadn't anticipated. And that fear, that tiny seed of panic, was mine to cultivate. I stepped out slowly, holding the documents against my chest, and spoke in a trembling but firm voice. I know everything. They froze. His eyes narrowed, suspicion and fury mixing in a dangerous combination. His mother's face paled, her expression a mask of calculated control, slipping just enough to reveal panic. The room felt smaller, the shadows longer, the storm outside like an echo of the tension within. You think you can expose us? He hissed, taking a cautious step forward. Do you even know what you're meddling with? I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of fear and power battling inside me. I know enough, I said. Enough to make you regret ever laying a hand on my daughter, enough to make sure she's safe, and enough to reveal every lie you've told. His mother stepped forward, her expression cold, but her hands trembled ever so slightly. You don't understand. There are consequences, severe consequences, for revealing the truth, she warned. I took a deep breath. I understand consequences. But tonight, the truth is stronger than your threats. And justice will prevail. Then a sudden movement. A rustle in the hallway behind them. They both turned and I seized the moment. I stepped closer, placing the documents on the table between us. These aren't just letters. They're proof. Every scheme, every manipulation, every threat. It ends tonight. They stared at the documents, their faces draining of color as they realized the gravity of what I held. My hands were trembling, but my voice was steady. You thought I was powerless, that I would let fear rule me. But I'm stronger than you imagined. And then a faint whisper reached my ears, carried by the storm, or perhaps from within the house itself. The truth will set her free. I glanced at my daughter, who had quietly joined me at the edge of the hallway. Her eyes were wide, filled with fear and trust. I nodded to her, silently telling her that this was the moment we would reclaim everything. Her husband stepped back, desperation flashing in his eyes. His mother tried to compose herself, but I could see the panic beneath the surface. You can't do this, he stammered. You have no idea what's at stake. I smiled, a trembling, fierce smile. I know exactly what's at stake. Your control ends tonight. And my daughter, she will never live in fear again. The storm outside intensified, lightning illuminating the room in blinding flashes. Shadows danced across their faces, revealing the cracks in their composure. I realized then that the first strike had succeeded. They were scared, uncertain, and for the first time vulnerable. I picked up the most damning documents, holding them high. These will go to the right people. The authorities. The people who can ensure your manipulation and cruelty are exposed for all to see. You can try to stop me, but the evidence doesn't lie. His mother's face contorted with anger and fear. You don't understand, we can destroy you, she spat. I shook my head, stepping closer. You were wrong to underestimate me. You were wrong to hurt my daughter. And now, the consequences are yours. A sudden flash of lightning illuminated the room, and in that moment, I realized the storm outside mirrored the storm within me. Chaotic, intense, and unstoppable. Every shadow, every whisper, every hidden secret had led to this confrontation. And I was ready. I turned to my daughter, taking her hand. Tonight we take back our lives. No more fear, no more lies. This ends now. And dear listener, I ask you again. If you held the power to confront someone who had harmed your loved ones, would you have the courage to do it? Comment below, I need to know what you would do in a moment like this. The storm raged on, shadows danced, and whispers filled the house. And in that tense electric moment, I knew the final chapter was near. The confrontation had begun, and the secrets, the truths, and the justice we sought were about to collide. The storm outside had reached its peak. Rain hammered the roof like relentless drums, lightning splitting the sky in violent, blinding flashes. Every shadow in the old house stretched and twisted, as if alive, echoing the tension in my chest. The confrontation I had been preparing for all night had arrived, and I could feel the weight of every secret, every lie pressing down on me. I stood in the center of the living room, documents in hand, facing my daughter's husband and his mother. Their faces were pale, a mixture of anger, fear, and disbelief. The evidence I held, the letters, photographs, receipts, and hidden journals, had revealed decades of manipulation and cruelty. And yet the final piece, the one that would deliver the ultimate blow, remained hidden until now. I reached into my bag and pulled out the envelope I had found in the hidden room, the one that had trembled in my hands as if it knew the power it contained. I laid it on the table. "This," I said, my voice trembling but firm, "is the truth you thought you had buried forever. Every plan, every threat, every secret you've kept, exposed. Tonight, justice will be served." His eyes widened as he glanced at the documents. Panic replaced the false bravado he had worn for so long. His mother's expression hardened, but there was a flicker of fear in her eyes too. "You can't do this," he shouted. "You have no idea what you're meddling with." I shook my head slowly. "I know exactly what I'm meddling with, and I know enough to protect my daughter. You will never touch her again. You will never hurt her. And all your lies, your manipulation will come to light." Suddenly the lights flickered. Shadows danced wildly on the walls. I could hear the storm raging outside, but another sound reached my ears, a low, deliberate whisper from the shadows. "The final truth is here." I realized then that it wasn't just the storm or my imagination. Something or someone was watching, and in that moment I understood. The true power wasn't just in the evidence or the confrontation, but in the unseen forces, the layers of truth that had been waiting for decades to be revealed. I opened the envelope slowly, revealing the final documents. My hands shook, but my voice remained steady. "These letters, these photographs, they will show everyone who you truly are. Not the charming people you pretend to be, but the manipulators, the abusers, the liars." His mother's face paled. "No, that's impossible," she whispered, taking a step back. Her hands shook, betraying the fear she tried to mask. "You were wrong to underestimate me," I said, my trembling voice carrying a fierce strength. "You thought a grandmother could be ignored, that my love for my daughter made me weak. But love makes me unstoppable." And then came the twist, the moment I had not expected yet had feared. A soft creak from behind the table drew my attention. I turned slowly. There in the doorway was a figure I hadn't noticed before. Someone I had trusted long ago. Someone who had vanished years ago under mysterious circumstances. My late husband's old friend, thought dead by everyone, stood there, holding a folder of additional evidence. "I've been watching," he said quietly, "waiting for the right moment. You didn't know, but they weren't just targeting your daughter. They've been destroying lives for years. Now we can end this together." My breath caught. Shock, relief, and determination collided inside me. The pieces were falling into place. The first strike, the confrontation, the hidden archives. It was all part of a larger web, one that I had only begun to understand. And now, with help I hadn't expected, the truth would finally be complete. My daughter stepped forward, her small hand in mine. "Mom, what happens now?" she whispered, fear and hope mingling in her voice. I smiled, tears stinging my eyes. "Now, my darling, now we finish what we started. You are safe. You are free. And they will face the consequences." The husband's face twisted in anger and disbelief. You can't do this. We'll ruin you," he shouted, but his voice lacked the conviction it had held before. Fear had replaced confidence, uncertainty replaced arrogance. His mother tried to intervene, but the folders, the letters, the hidden evidence, all pointed to the inevitable. She realized that every manipulation, every lie, every secret she thought buried was now exposed. And in that moment she faltered, powerless. The storm outside seemed to echo the shift inside the house. Lightning illuminated the faces, the documents, and the shadows. Every secret, Every hidden cruelty, every manipulation had finally come to light. And in that electric moment I understood something profound. Sometimes the truth doesn't just set people free, it changes them forever. I took a deep breath, my trembling hands now steady with resolve. This is the end of your control, the end of your lies, and the beginning of a new life for my daughter, and for everyone you've tried to manipulate. Then the final twist, the one no one expected. Among the documents, a letter addressed to me, written decades ago by someone I thought I would never hear from again. It revealed not only the truth about my daughter's husband and his mother, but also secrets about my own past, hidden connections and sacrifices I had never understood. My heart pounded as I realized the full scope of what had been hidden. Tears streamed down my face, trembling voice now choked with emotion. So much darkness, for so long, but tonight it ends. The husband and his mother were silent now, defeated, powerless, exposed. The evidence, the confrontation, the hidden truths, all had led to this moment. The storm outside began to subside, as if nature itself acknowledged the shift in power. I turned to my daughter, embracing her tightly. We are safe now. We are free. And nothing will ever take that away from us. And dear listener, I ask you one final time. If you had the courage to uncover decades of lies, to confront those who harmed your loved ones, could you face the storm and stand tall? Comment below. The house once filled with shadows, whispers, and fear, now felt lighter. The storm outside was fading. The secrets had been revealed, justice delivered, and love had proven stronger than cruelty. And in that moment I understood something simple yet profound. Courage, truth, and love, no matter how old or fragile you seem, can overcome even the darkest shadows. The night ended not with silence, but with relief, with clarity, with the emotional payoff of justice finally served. The shadows retreated, the storm passed, and my daughter, my beloved daughter, finally knew she was safe, loved, and free.